Let me break something down to you right now. A lot of people think men are simple creatures. You feed us, you respect us, you give us intimacy, and that's it. But if you've been in a real relationship with a grown man, you know it's deeper than that. See, men don't just bond emotionally with anybody. A man can spend years with a woman and never actually form that emotional connection. You know why? Because it takes the right moment, the right feeling, and the right level of trust before a man will open up his heart. Now, here's the thing about us men. We've been taught since we were boys that we don't cry, we don't talk about our fears, and we definitely don't show weakness. It starts early. Fall off your bike. Get up, boy. Brush it off. Get your heart broken at 16. Man up, you'll find another one. And so we grow up putting all our feelings in this little box, locking it up tight and throwing away the key. Then we step into adulthood thinking that's the only way to survive. But deep down, we still want someone who we can show that side to. That little boy inside who still hurts, still dreams, still wonders if he's enough. The problem is, most men don't find that safe space easily. They find women they like, women they're attracted to, women they can laugh with, but not women they can unmask themselves with, because every time in the past they've tried, they've been judged, laughed at, or had their vulnerability thrown back in their face later in an argument. And I'm going to tell you something, ladies, once a man has been hurt like that, it's 10 times harder for him to try again. So when he does finally meet a woman who makes him feel safe enough to open up, that's rare. That's when the emotional bond starts forming. See, you can have all the beauty, charm, and confidence in the world, but if a man doesn't feel safe to be real around you, he's only going to give you the surface version of himself. He'll show you the parts he thinks you'll like, but the deepest parts of his heart, he'll keep those locked away. But when he feels like he can tell you his fears without you thinking he's weak, when he can talk about his mistakes without you looking at him differently, when he can say, I don't know what to do, and you don't throw it in his face, that's when he knows he can trust you. And trust is the soil where emotional bonds grow. And I've got to tell you this, respect is everything to a man. You cannot love a man without respecting him, not in his eyes. See, for women, love is the oxygen of a relationship, but for men, respect is the oxygen. You take that away, he's going to suffocate. You can't say, I love you, and then talk down to him, dismiss his ideas, or compare him to other men. That's like telling him, I love you, but I don't think you're good enough. And that will shut a man down faster than anything else. When a man feels respected, he feels safe. When he feels respected, he starts to relax around you. He starts thinking, man, she sees me, she believes in me. And that belief, that's fuel to a man's spirit. We go out into this world every day fighting battles you might not even know about. Work pressures, financial worries, expectations to be strong no matter what. But when we come home to a woman who believes in us, even when we doubt ourselves, that's priceless. That's when we start to feel that deeper connection. And let me tell you something else. Men bond when they feel chosen, not when they feel like they were just the one who happened to be there. See, men can tell the difference between being your first choice and being your last option. A man wants to feel like out of all the people you could have picked, you picked him, not because you're lonely, not because you're afraid of being single, not because you were settling, but because he is the one you wanted. When a man feels like you've chosen him for who he is, not just for what he can give you, not just for what he can do for you, but for him, it hits different. He starts thinking about forever. He starts building a life in his head with you in it. And here's the part most people miss. When a man feels chosen, he starts choosing you back in ways you can see and in ways you can't. He starts prioritizing you. He starts planning for you. That's the emotional glue right there. Now, let's be real. Emotional bonding isn't about constant romance, flowers, or saying, I love you every day. Those things are nice, but they don't create that deep connection. That connection happens in those unglamorous moments. When he's tired and still wants to hear about your day, when he tells you about something that scares him, when you encourage him after a failure instead of criticizing, when you notice the small things he does and you thank him for it. That's when a man starts thinking, this woman is home for me. You want to know why some men stay in relationships for years but never marry the woman? It's because they never reach that deep emotional bond. They liked her, maybe even loved her in their way, but she never became that safe place where he could truly let go. But when a man finds that, oh, he'll put a ring on it, he'll claim you in front of the world because he's not just with you, he's invested in you emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Men are not as complicated as people think. We want to be loved, respected, supported, and chosen. In that order, you give a man those four things, and he will fight for you until his last breath. But here's the thing. He can't bond with you emotionally if he's still protecting himself from you. And protection is not just about physical safety. It's about guarding his heart. If he thinks you'll use his weaknesses against him, you'll never see his real self. But if he knows you'll guard his secrets, lift him up when he's down, and stand beside him even when the world is against him, that man will give you a level of loyalty that money can't buy. That's why some women can be drop dead gorgeous, have everything going for them, and still wonder why a man won't commit. Because beauty might get him in the room, but safety, respect, belief, and being chosen, that's what makes him stay. And if you've got a man who's giving you that emotional side of himself, who's letting you see the parts he hides from everyone else, then understand, you're not just his woman, you're his home. And a man will fight harder for his home than for anything else in this world. Let me tell you something most people don't realize about men. We don't form emotional bonds the way women do. A woman can feel connected to you through conversation, shared experiences, or just spending time together. But for a man, that real deep connection, that emotional glue, only happens when something specific takes place. You can have a man's attention, his affection, even his commitment on paper, but until he feels this one thing, his heart will never truly belong to you. Men are raised in a world that tells us emotions are a sign of weakness. From the time we're boys, we're told to toughen up, push through, and keep it moving. We're expected to carry burdens without showing strain, solve problems without asking for help, and protect others while ignoring our own pain. Over time, we become experts at putting up walls. We smile when we're hurting, we laugh when we're worried, and we act like everything's fine even when it's not. It becomes second nature. So when a man meets a woman, he doesn't just drop those walls because she's attractive or because they get along well. That's not how it works. He's still evaluating. Can I trust her with the real me? Can I tell her the truth about my struggles? Can I show her the side of me I keep hidden from everybody else? And until the answer is yes, he'll keep parts of himself locked away. Now here's the truth. A man bonds emotionally when he feels completely safe with a woman. I'm talking about the kind of safety where he knows she's not going to laugh at him for crying, where she's not going to throw his fears back at him in a heated moment, and where she's not going to use his honesty as ammunition later. When a man realizes, I can be myself here, flaws, failures, and all, and she's still going to stand by me, that's when the emotional connection kicks in. You see, ladies, we can handle a lot of things in life, but rejection for who we really are, that's the deepest cut. That's why so many men hide their feelings. It's not because we don't have them. It's because we've been taught that showing them is dangerous. But when you give a man a space where he can lay it all down without fear, you're giving him something the world almost never gives him. And that's why he bonds with you in a way he doesn't with anyone else. And let's be clear, safety isn't just about how you react when he's vulnerable. It's also about how you speak to him, how you treat him, and whether you respect him. See, respect to a man is more than manners. It's validation of his worth. When you respect his opinions, acknowledge his efforts, and appreciate what he does, you're telling him, I see you, I value you, and I believe in you. That belief is like oxygen for a man's soul. It makes him want to open up, to share more of himself, because he knows he's seen and appreciated. Men don't bond with people who belittle them, dismiss their ideas, or make them feel incompetent. We bond with the ones who remind us that even when we mess up, we're still worthy of love and admiration. That doesn't mean you have to agree with everything he says or never challenge him. It means you can disagree without disrespect, you can correct without tearing down, and you can hold him accountable without making him feel small. That balance is powerful, and it's rare. Another thing most women don't realize is that men need to feel chosen, not by default, but on purpose. We know when we're just filling a space in someone's life. We know when we're being tolerated instead of celebrated. And nothing makes a man pull away faster than feeling like he's just there because you couldn't get the person you really wanted. When a man feels truly chosen, like out of all the people in the world you could be with, you want him not for his money, not for his status, not for what he can do for you, but for who he is. That's when he starts investing emotionally. And let me tell you something about men when they feel chosen. They start showing up in bigger ways. They start giving more of their time, their energy, and their heart because they feel secure in your choice. That's when they stop holding back because they know they're not fighting for a place in your life. They already have it. That's the moment his loyalty deepens. And once a man reaches that point, it's hard to shake him. Now, I know a lot of people think men are emotionally detached, but the truth is, we're just careful about where we put our hearts. We don't give them away lightly. And the process of bonding with us isn't loud or flashy. It happens in small, quiet moments. It's in the way you listen when he talks, even about the little stuff. It's in the way you encourage him after he fails instead of criticizing. It's in the way you acknowledge his efforts without making him feel like he's auditioning for your approval. And you might not realize it, but men are always paying attention to how you treat them when they're at their lowest. When life knocks him down and you're still there, supporting him, believing in him, and refusing to see him as less of a man because he's struggling, that's when the bond gets cemented. That's when he says to himself, I'm not going anywhere. This woman is with me for real. The irony is, the world often rewards men for what they do, not for who they are. But emotional bonds are built when someone loves us for who we are, even when we're not winning, even when we're not at our best. And when a man finds that kind of acceptance, it's almost impossible for him to walk away from it. See, the thing is, a lot of men out here are starving for connection, but they're scared of the cost. They've seen what happens when they open up to the wrong person. They've watched friends get burned. They've lived through heartbreak where their vulnerability was used against them. That's why so many men keep everything bottled up. But when they finally meet a woman who proves she can be trusted with their heart, their fears, and their truth, it's like finding a shelter in the middle of a storm. And once they find that shelter, they're not looking to leave. That's why I always say, if you want a man to bond with you emotionally, you can't just be beautiful, fun, and kind. You've got to be safe, respectful, and intentional about choosing him. You've got to make him feel like you're a place he can rest without worry, a place where he can lay down his armor without being attacked. Because the minute he realizes you're that place, that's the minute you stop being just his partner. You become his peace. And a man will fight to keep his peace more than anything else in this world. Let me explain something to you about men that most people overlook. We can laugh with you, have fun with you, and even spend years with you, but that doesn't mean we've bonded with you emotionally. A man's emotional connection is not automatic. It's not something you can force just by being in a relationship with him. There's a trigger, a shift, a certain feeling that has to hit before that door to his heart swings open. And when it happens, it changes everything about how he sees you. Men are taught from the time we're small that feelings are dangerous territory. If a boy falls down and cries, somebody tells him to stop. If his feelings are hurt, he's told to shake it off. If he's scared, he's told to be brave. Little by little, we learn to bury our emotions so deep we forget where we put them. By the time we're grown, we've got years of practice keeping everything locked away. So when we meet a woman, even if we're attracted, even if we like her personality, we don't just unload our whole truth. We don't think she's beautiful. Let me tell her all my fears. No, we test the waters. We see how she reacts to the smaller stuff before we even think about sharing the big things. Because in our minds, once we put our heart out there, we can't take it back. And if it's handled carelessly, it's going to hurt in a way we don't forget. That's why the first and most important step in a man bonding emotionally is safety. Not physical safety, emotional safety. He needs to know that he can say the wrong thing, admit a weakness, or show vulnerability without it being used against him later. If a man shares a secret fear and you laugh at it, he's done. If he admits a failure and you throw it in his face during an argument, that door to his heart is going to slam shut. But if you can hear him out, respect his feelings, and stand beside him instead of judging, you've just put yourself in a position no one else has. Men don't get that kind of acceptance often. Out in the world, we're expected to have the answers, fix the problems, and carry the load without complaining. But when we find a woman who can be a place of rest, a place where we can finally set that load down, that's when we start feeling something deeper. That's when the connection grows from attraction to attachment. Now let's talk about something women sometimes underestimate: respect. Men will not emotionally attach themselves to someone who makes them feel small. Respect isn't about agreeing with everything we say or never challenging us. It's about how you handle disagreement, how you speak to us, and whether you recognize the effort we're putting in. When you respect a man, you're telling him, I see you. I value what you bring. I believe in you even when you fall short. That belief is powerful. It doesn't just feed his ego, it feeds his soul. Without respect, love feels hollow to a man. You can say, I love you every day, but if your tone cuts him down or your actions make him feel like he's not enough, that love doesn't land. But with respect, even criticism can feel constructive. Even when you're holding him accountable, he won't feel attacked. He'll feel supported. That difference is everything in building a bond. Another piece of this puzzle is being chosen. Not, oh, you're here, so I guess you'll do. No, men can tell when they're the real choice versus the backup plan. We want to feel like you could have been with anyone, but you wanted us for who we are, not just what we can do for you. When we feel truly chosen, it makes us want to invest more. It makes us want to prove that your choice was the right one. And this is where some women miss it. A man can feel desired physically without feeling chosen emotionally. You can be intimate, you can share a life, but if he feels like you'd replace him the moment a better option came along, he's never going to let you all the way in. But if he feels like you're not comparing him to anyone else, not wishing he was different, not silently keeping score, that's when he starts putting down roots. Now, here's the truth about how men bond. It happens in quiet, everyday moments, not just in the big romantic gestures. It's in the way you listen when he's telling you about his day, even if it's not exciting. It's in how you react when he shares something embarrassing. It's in whether you still believe in him when he's at his lowest. The world only claps for men when they're winning, but the right woman will stand by a man when he's losing, when he's uncertain, when he's trying and failing. That kind of loyalty leaves a mark. A man remembers how you treated him in the seasons when he didn't have much to give. If you can stand beside him when the money's tight, when the job's shaky, when he's doubting himself, then when he's back on top, his heart will belong to you in a way that's hard to explain. That's not just appreciation. That's bonding. That's the I'm never letting her go kind of feeling. We don't always say it out loud, but men are constantly looking for signs that you're safe to love. We notice if you listen without judgment, if you can disagree without disrespect, if you make us feel like we're your first choice. We're watching to see if you celebrate us in public and correct us in private, if you believe in our dreams even when they sound crazy, if you have our back when no one else does. Every time you show up like that, you're putting another brick in the foundation of the bond. Some women think they've got the bond just because a man says, I love you, or because he's faithful. But a man can be loyal and still not be fully connected. That deep connection comes when he feels like you've seen the real him, the unpolished, unfiltered, uncertain version, and you still choose him anyway. When that happens, you're not just his partner, you're his home. And once a man feels at home with you, it changes how he moves. He's not looking around for what's out there. He's not keeping his options open. He's building, protecting, and providing for what he's already got. That's why men will fight harder for a woman who makes them feel safe, respected, and chosen than for anyone else. That kind of connection is rare, and we know it when we find it. So if you want to understand why some men never truly open up, it's because they never hit that moment of safety. They never felt respected in a way that allowed them to be vulnerable. They never felt chosen for who they are. Without those things, there's no bond, just a relationship that looks good on the outside but feels empty on the inside. But with those things, you can take a man who's been guarded his whole life and watch him slowly, piece by piece, hand you the keys to his heart. And when a man gives you that, he's not just letting you in, he's letting you stay. Let me tell you something about men. We don't hand out our emotional connection like candy. You can make a man laugh. You can make him miss you. You can even make him want to spend time with you. But that deep soul level connection, that's something different. That's something we only give when the conditions are right. And for most men, it doesn't happen often. Men grow up in a world where showing emotion is treated like a weakness. When we're boys, we get told to man up. When we cry, stop acting soft. When we express fear, and handle it when we're struggling. So we start tucking away our feelings, hiding them in the corners of ourselves where no one can see, and we get good at it. By the time we're grown, we've got a poker face for almost everything. But here's what people don't get. Just because a man doesn't show emotions easily doesn't mean he doesn't have them. Oh, we feel things deeply. We just don't trust many people enough to show it. And until a man feels that trust, he will keep the most vulnerable parts of himself locked away. That's why some women date a man for years and still feel like there's a wall between them. That wall is his protection. A man starts bonding emotionally when he feels safe to take that wall down. And safety for us isn't about a lack of danger. It's about knowing that if we tell you our fears, our failures, or our flaws, you're not going to use them against us. If a man shares his dreams and you laugh, you've just taught him to keep his dreams to himself. If he tells you about a mistake and you throw it in his face during an argument, that wall just got 10 feet higher. But if you can hear him out without judgment, if you can sit with his truth and not make him feel less of a man, that's when he starts letting you in. Now, respect, that's a whole other layer to this. Respect is to a man what water is to a plant. Without it, he can't thrive. You can tell him you love him, but if you talk down to him, constantly question his judgment, or make him feel like he can't get anything right, he's going to pull away. Respect is about valuing his effort, acknowledging his role, and treating his opinions like they matter. And here's the thing. Respect doesn't mean agreeing with him all the time. It means disagreeing without making him feel like a fool. That's the difference between a conversation and a cut. And when a man feels respected, he starts showing more of himself. He becomes more vulnerable, more open, because he's not bracing for criticism every time he speaks. Respect builds trust, and trust builds connection. Without it, you'll never get to the emotional side of him. But there's another part to this that women sometimes underestimate. Men need to feel chosen. We can tell when we're just filling a space in your life. We can tell when you're settling, when we're your safe choice instead of your real choice. And that doesn't build connection, that builds distance. But when we feel like you picked us, not because we were the only one there, not because you were lonely, but because you saw something in us that you wanted, that's powerful. That's when we start thinking, I'm going to prove her right for choosing me. And you'd be surprised how much a man changes when he feels chosen. His investment goes up. He becomes more protective, more giving, more willing to put in the work. Because in his mind, you've already declared that out of everyone, he's the one. That's a bond in itself. Now, bonding doesn't happen in the big moments as much as people think. Sure, a romantic trip, a nice dinner, or an anniversary gift can make memories, but the bond grows in the everyday stuff. It's in the way you talk to him when he's tired. It's in the way you respond when he tells you he's messed something up. It's in the way you stand beside him when life